ladies and gentlemen, I am Rob of the Lair of OmnusI YouTube channel, and I am here for another topic from the RPG Brigade's RPGaDay 2019, where we content creators take our turns to make a video discussing a topic to try to bring about greater understanding and the entertainment of our peers. And those who are interested in role-playing too, of course. If you are just kind of catching this and this sounds interesting, by all means, I recommend looking up a role-playing game and see what this is all about. Today's topic, and this the 9th day of August, is focus. Just that word, focus. And it's an interesting topical word because this is the day of distraction. This is a day where you have instant entertainment in your pocket if you're the average person, where you can instantly go off and drop yourself into a game right then and there and either challenge yourself and do something complicated, or you can play a full role-playing game on one of these things. There's lots of things that can draw you away. There's conversations you can have with friends hundreds and thousands of miles away. There's oftentimes things going on in the background. Focus is difficult to maintain for some people. And that's just kind of the way we are. And honestly, that's the way we're being brought up now, too. It used to be, way back in the day, you had to focus because there were no real distractions. If you were playing with your friends were the entirety of your experience at the time. And you could really just do nothing but concentrate on them. Later on, we had television and radio and things like that. There might be somebody talking to us, but generally it wasn't too hard to focus on any one thing. You had to watch whatever was in front of you because there weren't so very many options. And even today, I've seen modern programming, there still aren't all that many options. There's a lot of garbage, but there's probably relatively few things that you want to see. But now, if you have a TV in front of you and say you have a Netflix account, there are thousands of movies that you can watch. Assuming that you don't have a library yourself of hundreds of movies that you have on DVD or streaming from your account. If you have a phone, there's always the distraction that there's always a conversation that you can have or another game that you could play or something like that. Texts to read, and so on and so forth. The YouTube generation has pretty much killed off the need to sit and wait for stations to finish advertising. No, you can just go on and change and go to another video. Our attention spans have gotten smaller and smaller. So focus is really hard today for a lot of people. And even, that doesn't necessarily mean just the younger generation either. Some of us oldsters, focus can be tricky. Life goes on, and sometimes at a gaming table, focus can really slip. So I'm here to offer you a couple of my suggestions for how I maintain focus. It's a little tricky for me. We always play here in my basement, so we're here in my house, which means things that are going on elsewhere in my house with my wife and son are always in the back of my mind at the very least. If I hear a crash, I'm up the stairs like a shot, because got to check out and just make sure my family's okay. But generally, when I'm here and I'm concentrating, I really don't want to have a lapse of focus if I can avoid it. The perfect night for me is one where everything's peaceable upstairs, relatively few distractions at the table, and we could really get into character and do something cool. So, these are the things that I do. Number one, when I'm playing, the phone does not come out unless I'm using it as a tool. Sometimes I will pair up my phone with my Bluetooth speaker and run tabletop audio, which is a website that has background music for games. It's excellent if you have the opportunity to use it. And if you have, say, Wi-Fi where you're at, oh, it's so nice. So nice. You can almost set up a playlist of all the sounds that you're going to want to play in the background of your game, and it's a great site. Highly recommend patronizing them. They are awesome. You can use their site for free, but They can use donations. They deserve to get paid for this. It's really that good. So, that's the only time that I will ever want to take out my phone during a game. Before the game, yeah, I'll check the Facebook site to see if any of my players are calling in and not going to be able to make it. Various things like that. But for the most part, I will not pull out my phone and distract myself if I can avoid it. Yes, I know, life sometimes happens and sometimes it is unavoidable. But it's unfortunate when that happens. Also, when I am running a game, I have a standing rule. If you are playing on your phone, you get no experience for that night. Sounds a bit harsh? Well, I generally consider that if you are setting aside the time to come and play at my table, you want to be a participant. If you think something else is more entertaining and engaging, like your phone or whatever you're doing on it, no. Sorry, you're not part of the group anymore. You have taken yourself out of the group, and therefore I'm not going to reward you for not participating. So no, you get no experience. I don't care what your character did. I will give a warning, of course, before I shank your experience totals, but no, I have no sympathy for that. When you are here, you should focus. Keep your phone in your pocket. Yes, if life happens and you get a call or, something happens, get up, walk away, show that you are not a part of that scenario, and I won't get as offended. People I know need to use their phones. We can't just put them in a bowl at the stairs and say, nobody touches their phone. Oh, sneezy today. Excuse me. But that's not practical, and I think that in my gaming group, we're adults, or we're expected to act as adults. So, yes, you can be without your phone for the 4 hours that we're going to play. Now, that's the big one. Number 2, keeping off-topic conversations to a minimum. This is situational. Sometimes you're just playing a lighthearted game, or you need something to break it up. So throwing on a movie quote that everybody can crack up about is fine from time to time. It doesn't have to be so grim and serious. But when it is, and you decide that you need to break up the mood, sometimes that's not appropriate, and that can distract everybody's focus. And yes, I'm guilty of doing that myself. I admit it. I like to make people laugh, and if we're playing something that is so dark and so grim, sometimes I have to fight the urge to crack wise and make everybody laugh and lighten the mood a little bit. This has happened in the past. It's something I work to control because I appreciate building atmosphere and the need for some things to happen for atmosphere to happen. If the players have their mood lightened, the impact is going to be lessened. So, yeah. That's something that is important. If you have to have a conversation with somebody else, it should be taken off to the side, not going across the table. This ruins focus. Another thing that's important is the sanctity of the Game Master position as far as the Game Master is talking, you don't talk. If the Game Master is engaging with you in conversation, that's one thing. If the Game Master is talking and you feel the need to go and talk about some story, talk about sports or something else, well, you're suddenly distracting from anybody else who's trying to focus on the Game Master. And it's kind of rude. I mean, if you have to have a conversation, I don't mind if you go and leave the table, especially if your character isn't involved in what's going on. That does sometimes happen. Sometimes the focus will not be on you. You will not have the spotlight at all times, and that's fine. If you want to go and have a conversation off, or just to the side, make sure that it's quiet, respectful, and polite. So that everybody else can maintain focus on the game that is going on. And I think that is important. Another thing that is useful, I find, for focus is, and this one can be a little challenging for some people. I am an immersive role player. I like to be in the character and in the moment. I know a lot of people do that. Not everybody. Some people are at differing levels on that journey through, role-playing and what it means to you. But I really do like to try to consider things from my character's perspective. I like to talk as my character. and have the impact of those words felt in the game. Considering that my player character right now is an 8-foot-tall Goliath with an occasional propensity to violence, I really want to have that impact felt, so that I don't have to necessarily break the laws and murder people. I can say things and people will take me serious. People will take me seriously as Galhard, warrior of my people. If an 8-foot-tall person with no shortage of edged and bashing implements on their body said something, you'd listen, generally. He's all muscly and you'd want to listen. Otherwise he's going to bend you into a pretzel. Well, sometimes. But it's important that when people want to get into that state, focus becomes that much more important. So sometimes what I will do before a game is I will read through the character. I'll look at it, even though I've seen it 100 times before. I will look over the character sheet. I will look over my backstory, try to remember important details, and challenge myself in the middle of a game to interweave something from my backstory into what I've done. All too often I see people who come up with these ridiculous backstories and they never play off of that. None of their backstory ever comes out. They're just Bob the Fighter. And they'll efficiently do their job. Tactically they're sound. But I never find out that they're the lost prince of the house of Eltwin, and that they have a sister who was captured by ogres. We never go looking for her, so never comes up, unless the game master decides that he wants to interweave that into his story. Bob never mentions it. We'll never find out that part of his backstory. So I like to do that as part of my internal focus. I like to look through any goals and challenges that I've set up and think about how I'm going to work towards those in this scenario. Think about things that I can do, how I can talk so that maybe the game master heeds that and kind of gives me some of those plot hooks to go back and accomplish some of my character's goals. Realistically, don't we do that every day? We have things that are on our mind that we think we want to do, and we generally try to work to set out and do them. Otherwise, it's just a regret. So, as adventurers, oftentimes you have greater scope to do things than we in the real world do. I'd love to go to Hawaii. I think it would be beautiful. I think it would be an incredible experience. I think the food would be fantastic. But I can't teleport there. I don't have a stack of coins from a dragon horde that I can just, okay, I'm going to go and satisfy that urge that I've always had. So I'm just going to wait and see if a windfall ever happens. It's going to be a regret unless I work to make that happen. Adventurers generally are freed up societally to do those kind of things. And if you're not playing as an adventurer, then your goals are probably going to be somewhat similar in scope to what you are able to do. For example, a space marine in the game Deathwatch may have a real hatred for a particular Xenos race, like orcs. And that by looking through and remembering, if you start hearing details, you're going to try to focus with a laser of precision on, are there orcs involved? And if there are, we should try to deal with it as violently as possible. These are kind of things that help your focus. And it's good to touch base with your character and let them talk through you and to you. One last thing that I do on occasion, especially when I know there's a lot of distractions, there's a lot of things running through my head, is I like to use some of the emptying techniques I learned in theater. Things that help you to draw focus. Because in theater and performance, focus is so important. If you don't have that kind of focus going into it, if your attention slips, all of a sudden those lines that you have memorized can skew. You can miss vital cues and accidentally be out of position on stage, which is so important for a dramatic impression and impact of your performance. Likewise, in a role-playing game, even though the stakes aren't as high, you're not doing a live performance in front of a large crowd unless you are, but a lot of the things that I have learned in theater do help in role-playing games if I take that extra step to try to banish those kind of distractions. My first exercise that I do is a simple tension exercise. It's a matter of closing your eyes with as much quiet around as you can muster and go through your body and inhale and tense a part of your body. Exhale, relax. Go to another part of your body. Inhale, tense. Exhale, relax. One of these days I'll record it. My professor that I had for theater, Dr. David Schimpf, very nice man, fantastic, taught us these exercises, and they were very helpful to me. I found even the time when I took over as assistant director for him, I wanted to do all of these things exactly as he did because I found they were so helpful. And they help for role-playing games too, and a lot of other things. But by going through your entire body and just doing that, inhale, exhale, you can focus those parts and you can bring up tension and allow yourself to feel the moment so much more dramatically. If you are using an accent or a dialect, there are mouth-limbering exercises that I have used, since Galhard always talks in the deep bass voice that I do not, because, well, he is a massive 8-foot tall Goliath, and I am not, and quite honestly, developing character voice is important, so your fellow players know when you are talking in character as opposed to when you're not talking in character. It's an excellent tool that anybody can use, and it's great to keep your focus. So a lot of times I will use mouth stretching exercises to get limbered up, which again can be fairly useful. Those kind of things are nice little tricks to try to take your mind off of all the different distractions going on and allow yourself to focus on what you're about to set out to do. You'll have distractions, you'll still have things that'll try to peel that away, but with these tips and tricks, hopefully you can minimize that and you can really focus on what you and the rest of your other players are there to do, which is enjoy a game together, have fun being someone else for a little while, and maybe save the world along the way. So I hope this helps. I do think that this topic is especially poignant because it's so hard to maintain focus at a game these days. And I would love if every single one of my players would see this video and think about themselves, how they can focus and how they can concentrate on getting into their character more, and not just doing what feels right at the spur of the moment, but think about things and see the world through your character's eyes and really start to embrace that. And if you already do, maybe one of these little tips and tricks might help you a little bit. So that's certainly my hope. Thank you for joining me. I'm Rob. I will see you the next time I crawl in front of the internet on one of these videos, hopefully. And good fortune attend you. Thank you, and farewell.